Speaking of that, anyways, we got some High Guard news apparently. High Guard and Jeff Keighley just got exposed. You know, the gift keeps on giving, to be honest. And then apparently we also have High Guard. Apparently, like, the devs are apparently accusing of lying, apparently. The devs are accusing of lying as game journalist uncovers tencent funding. So we got more shit about High Guard. I thought we were done talking about High Guard, to be frankly honest. But the gift keeps on giving, in my personal opinion. My game of the year goes end of service. Let's find out and see what's been happening or so. What do you mean they, that freaking whatchamacallit, fucking, Jeff Keighley got exposed apparently. I want to see this exposure. I have to see this. This is interesting to me.
We've got a number of High Guard updates to talk about in this video, and somehow everything just looks even worse. Like, they were already looking pretty dang bad, pretty horrible, and but the new information that came out makes them all look even worse, and also looks horrible for Jeff Keighley. So quick rundown, and then we'll get into the specifics. I'll show you everything in more detail. But first of all, the High Guard website's now been down for about 24 hours.
We know about this already.
There's been no actual official statement from the High Guard account about
it's the end of service. End of service is coming for High Guard. Actually, our tradition every single time when we take a look at a High Guard video, this is our tradition every single time. Let's see. Ooh. 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 Damn, dude. That definitely don't look very good, to be honest, chat. That definitely ain't looking very good. Jesus. Yikes. Yeah. Go, don't say that I have high hopes still. Okay, buddy. All right.
About this, but apparently a random dev on the Discord server has responded to an inquiry about this. So that's the closest thing we have as a official response, and it's an awful response. Funny side note about the website, someone else found that apparently before the website went down, the Discord server link there actually went to a completely different High Guard. It went to a random gaming clan called like the High Guard clan.
What?
And that's what they had linked on their official website apparently. And so some people joined and they're like, hey, is this the server for High Guard? And they're like, no. Like, the game? No. We're the High Guard clan. We were here before they were. Like, why are they linking to our server? And then finally, we've got some internal information revealed about High Guard's funding and how it apparently comes down to Tencent. These guys were apparently being funded by Tencent. This makes them and Jeff Keighley look very shady because all of them were trying to paint this out as like a little independent-esque studio that was running away from the evils of AAA. Meanwhile, they were funded by Tencent this whole time. At least that's what the new reports are claiming. And again, we'll take a look at all of this in more detail. So let's get started. So on the actual official High Guard Discord, we had this user Yin saying, what's up with the website? Being updated? And this apparent dev says, not sure on the time frame, but basically needs to be transferred and simplified. Low priority at the moment. Reputational damage already done. Now we just need to focus on delivering updates and content to improve. So yeah, I couldn't believe that. Once again, there's been no actual official statement about the website being down now 24 hours or so. And all we have is this apparent random dev on the Discord server responding to someone. That's all we got from them. And Wildlight previously said it's not about how many players we have, but that the players we do have love the game. And this is how they treat them? I mean, that's a horrible look. Imagine being an existing player of High Guard, one of the few that are left, and you see the official website's down 24 hours, there's no statement at all. It's not a good look. It's not a good show of confidence for the future of the game. And obviously the writing's on the walls that this thing's in real trouble, but nevertheless, if they truly cared about the players that they do have left, I don't understand how they don't say something more official about this. But I think it actually comes down to ego. This is pure speculation, but the vibe that I get from the High Guard team that's left and not laid off is that they simply didn't make an actual official statement on this on Twitter because they were scared of people making fun of them in the tweet, in the quote tweets and in the responses. And that's ridiculous.
But I said this in a previous video, right? I said this in a previous video from a previous High Guard video that we saw or so. what the fuck did Tencent see in this game? That's my question. Like, what did they see in this game? You know, for them to fund them. That's like my curiosity, you know? Like, it's just kind of like, what the fuck did you see in this game?
Bro, you have existing players left. Like, are you really, you're really putting more weight on random people on Twitter making fun of you,
man. It's weird,
than like actually informing your players with what's going on? Now, of course, that's just my speculation, but I think when you take a look at how these people have been handling everything, it's a likely explanation for why they've technically been radio silent about this, aside from this one off-the-cuff response on their Discord server. And the part where he says, reputational damage already done, that's crazy too. Again, my point isn't even about whatever circumstances may be for why the website's down right now. My point is about how they haven't made an official statement about this anywhere, and all we have is this, once again, off-the-cuff Discord comment because someone on Discord asked about it.
Ubisoft
Well, like I said, what about
yet?
your existing players? Don't you think they're concerned about why the official website's down? Especially with all the other bad news that's been coming out about this game and the mass layoffs that just occurred. Now the official website's down. Y'all have said nothing about it.
Do you guys think they're gonna buy the IP from them and then make their own version of High Guard?
But hey, reputational damage is already done. Might as well just not say anything. Like, who cares about the players we have left? And so before the website went down, though, people, as mentioned, also know.
Well, if Tencent buys it from them, right? Buys the IP from them, they're probably gonna redo everything, to be honest, and they'll probably put more sexier characters at the end of the day. So.
Noticed this, for example, this post reading. The Discord invite on the official site links to an Australian gaming guild unrelated to High Guard. And you can see this guild plays games like Nebulous, Fleet Command, Space Engineers, Dune Awakening, Helldivers 2, Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen. And we have a redacted Discord message here, apparently, where one of the people from that guild responds to someone who joined from the High Guard website.
What the hell?
And they say, "What game are you joining for? We don't play High Guard. We were here first."
Jesus.
Let's
see. So Tencent's versions of Nikkei for their Chinese audience has censorship and tweaks that are the Korean and NA audiences find nice. Oh, I see. So two separate servers basically is what I'm hearing. I see.
It's astonishing. How'd they even mess that up like that? Now, all that said, there is an official High Guard Discord server, apparently, the one we saw the aforementioned alleged dev comment from. So I don't know if people are just trolling around with this High Guard guild thing. Like, I can't actually check to see if it was linked there myself, is what I'm getting at, because the website's down, and or by the time it's up, maybe this is fixed, or maybe it never actually happened. This is just like a troll post or something. I don't know for sure, but just something to mention really quick. Let's move on to the other main part of the video, though, which is the Tencent news. Insider Gaming reports High Guard developer was backed by Tencent. As High Guard struggles continue amid collapsing player counts and layoffs at developer Wildlight Entertainment, a new report has shed light on who was funding the game all these years. According to Stefan Totillo of GameFile, Chinese conglomerate Tencent was the, quote, lead financial backer, unquote, of the studio. Specifically, it said that Timmy Group is the main studio backing the game. Up until now, the funders behind the game have been kept quiet. In past interviews, the studio has declined to comment on who was investing in the studio. Totillo adds that neither Tencent nor Wildlight provided a comment on the matter by the time of the publication. Insider Gaming has also reached out for comment, but has not yet received a response. High Guard launched on January 26 to nearly 100,000 concurrent players on Steam. Since then, the game has seen its player base fall to under 2,000 peak concurrents on the platform. It has also received mixed reviews. Now, the other day, I mentioned that Valve was being accused of having too much free speech, essentially, on the Steam forums by activist journalist outlet The Guardian. And The Guardian reached out to Valve for comment about this, to which Valve ignored the journalists, and I said, based Valve, that's a dub. It's a vastly different circumstance compared to what we see here, though, where, you know, there's a very valid reason to be criticizing High Guard about this, and why Wildlight has been radio silent and trying to imply the inverse, really, of the reality of the situation, which is regarding their financial backing here via Tencent. You know, it's vastly different than some nonsense being written up by journos trying to smear Steam amidst a lawsuit, by the way, that they're currently involved with, that seems like a very corrupt one from the UK, where the woman leading the charge on this lawsuit, Vicky Shotbolt, has ties to Ofcom. And all the
Yeah, I have a video on this specifically on this subject that we'll take a look at it because I'm very curious what the fuck is going on there.
other stuff that I also mentioned already in my aforementioned coverage from the other day about The Guardian going after Steam. This is a very long-winded way of me essentially saying that I'm not going to call Wildlight based. It's not going to happen. Cycling back to Wildlight, Jeff Keighley, and Tencent though, let's talk about why this has been so deceptive from all of them. First of all, back on January 31st, we had this information coming out from a interview that Wildlight CEO Dusty Welsh had with Polygon, where they said, Wildlight started with a small team of 5 or 6 people and remained that size for some time before gradually ramping up over the years. It's now about 100 people.
Okay. So from the previous video that we saw specifically, okay, I'm gonna tell you guys this specifically because we saw this. I think it was yesterday that we saw this. So you're telling me at the very beginning of the game's development, you had 5 or 6 people, and then you got up to 100 people. And then you had about like 60 people who worked on Apex Legends and Titanfall, right? You're saying out of those 100 people in general, you only had one fucking individual to create the character designs and the concept art for the characters. You only had like one person. One fucking artist. They only had like one artist who did the fucking apparently the character designs, and then they were also the leader for the microtransaction thing too as well. That's how Tencent makes money, funds small studios with big dreams and huge potential. Game gets made, game fails, Tencent takes game and asset, tweaks it, turns it into something else, sells it for to their own to their people profit. It is a game equivalent of leverage buyout. I see. And no criticism with that broadly. Now it makes sense why the market sucked. Mismanagement, nepotism much. Yeah, it's a lot of mismanagement. There was only one artist who made the characters. One who made the concept character designs for the characters. There was a previous video that we saw, it was yesterday, I think, while the recording of this video specifically. It was just only one person, just one individual that made it. I'm just like, what? Are you serious?
Around 60 of whom previously worked on Apex Legends and Titanfall. Dusty going on to say, we wanted to create an environment that was special and unique, and not have the burdens that you might get at a big publisher at a big company. Dusty Welsh had a separate interview with PC Gamer, which GameSpot would report on January 27th, and we'll take a look at this section where they say, Welch also talked about Wildlight's relationship with Keighley, saying he is a, quote, friend of the studio, unquote, and played the game prior to launch. He loved it, Welsh said. So when Jeff said, look, I'd love to do something different and put an indie studio and a free-to-play game up here and put it in the show, I mean as an indie who was unknown by choice, who wouldn't jump at the chance to do that? Here's the biggest platform in gaming, right? Welsh said. So yeah, from a Wildlight themselves to Jeff Keighley himself, there's been this attempt to try to paint Wildlight as similar to your favorite indie studio. And I don't think this is coincidence. For years now, we've seen indie games continuing to win. Now, sometimes you see this really weird thing where the modern audience types love defending AAA like Veilguard Slop and Ubislop, and they get really mad when people talk about the indie scene winning, and they try to counter that by saying something like, actually, most of the indie games on Steam fail. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of indie games on Steam that don't take off. Some of those devs are just doing it for fun, though, or it's like a first project they're doing for experience.
That is true.
Not all of them are actually intended to be like a smash hit. Nevertheless, we're not talking about all those anyways. We're talking about how every year there's consistently indie games at the forefront of gaming news, massively outperforming AAA games. And that's based. That's a good thing. The AAA industry has become far too corrupt. However, the AAA industry and the corpos, they don't like that. They don't like losing to indie games, of course. And so this attempt from Wildlight, which was really like a 100-person AA studio that came from AAA and brought over essentially all of the same practices of AAA, trying to paint themselves out as this great different thing. And then Jeff also being like, yeah, they're totally an indie studio. It really seems like they are trying to appeal to the growing section of gamers that are walking away from AAA and showing a greater and growing appreciation for indie studios. And this was them trying to capitalize on that favor and misappropriately apply the indie term onto Wildlight. Now, on top of them being more of a AA studio than something like your favorite little indie studio, we also now know that they've been getting funding from Tencent, apparently. So, I mean, that's just crazy. They really said they don't want to have to deal with like being constrained by big publishers like they would in AAA, but here they are signing contracts with Tencent. Like, okay, man. This would cause people to once again speculate if Jeff was actually paid to put Highguard in the spot that he did at the Game Awards 2025. Now, if I recall, Jeff declined this and even laughed about those sort of claims against him. But now that's being brought up again because on the GameAwards.com About section, they have what they call the Advisory Board. And at the very bottom left of their advisory board, you can see they have Stephen Ma of Tencent there. Though to be fair, you can also see a lot of very big names in the gaming industry and major gaming corporations listed there as well. So maybe there's nothing to this. Nah. Or maybe Jeff wasn't lying about not getting paid by Wildlight, but an omission of sorts in that he might have been paid by Tencent, but hey, no one asked about that. So he didn't say anything about that. But of course, that's all just speculation. Who knows? Who knows for sure? He very well may have not been paid by Tencent or Wildlight. Maybe he really just thought, as he said, Highguard was a good game that he liked and he wanted to put it there. Or maybe he was hoping this would win a little favor with Tencent if he put it there and it did well. Maybe that would incentivize Tencent to, I don't know, pay it forward his direction another way somehow, or the Game Awards another way somehow. Who knows for sure? Again, this last part's just pure speculation and some of the stuff people are bringing up, so I figured I'd mention it at the end. This last part aside, though, it's already a shady look how Jeff and Wildlight tried to paint themselves out as, once again, this like little indie studio or whatever. Just a really bad look, and people have said, like, why would they lie about this? Why were they so shady about this? And I think it goes back to what I said about how the indie scene's been winning, and they tried to use this as some sort of way to start, what's the word, co-opting the indie scene in a way. I think there's probably better phrasing I could use, but it's eluding me right now, and we're kind of near the end of the video anyways, so I'll wrap this up. That's the latest. Let me know what you think about all this. Hope you enjoyed the coverage. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.
That's interesting. That is very interesting, to be honest, to hear that. Interesting. One interesting tidbit. Who knows, man? Who knows? Real Indie Days. We make our games on the Tencent budget. Highguard does. We're just an indie group. We have Tencent budget too. I can't believe the audience would do this. Has given the biggest advertising spot in the gaming industry for free, are secretly funded by one of the largest game publishers in the world. Investors attempt to spin bad publicity as a moral failing of the industry consumer. Holy shit, it's an actual genuine industry plant game, Lumafao. Yeah, it could be. Who knows? Maybe. 100 people funding from a bigger publisher. Yeah, not much of an indie. They should have locked in like No Man's Sky. My problem is, the one thing I have a problem with is like, it's kind of like, what the fuck, dude? You couldn't hire like, I don't know, maybe like 2 more artists or so for the Highguard character creation thing. I'm just saying, maybe 5 in total. Maybe just have 5 question mark out of your 100 devs. I'm like, what the hell were the other devs doing? Fucking tickle each other's butthole or something? Good lord. Jesus Christ. I'm questioning. I'm just kind of like, I feel sad for the one artist who was just literally just doing the character designs by themselves. And, you know, and you got 100 devs working on this game, and you're saying like there was only like 1 person who was just doing this? I'm just like, no, okay. My curiosity is, you know how like a lot of these like hero shooter type of games say that, oh, we'll release a hero every like, you know, 7 to 8 months or something like that, or like a year or something or whatever, you know, you know, insert time frame, right? Like one hero every so couple of patches or so. My curiosity is if they do that because they only have one artist only working, literally only working on the hero designs. I'm super curious if it's just one artist that's actually just doing the like, you know, the character concept designs for them specifically. That is what I'm curious about. Now I'm just kind of like thinking it that way specifically when it comes to like hero shooters, at least for like the Western side of the society, you know? Like Overwatch was one of them where they literally says like, oh, we're gonna release a hero every so couple of patches or so, you know, and everything like that, you know, and it's just kind of like, Now I'm just thinking it to that point. It's just like maybe it's just only one single artist who's actually doing it, you know? But who knows? It's a theory, a game theory. Could be. I'm pretty sure they pipeline. They're already prepped and ready. Who knows? To be frankly honest, they probably already had a lot of the roadmap. The roadmap specifically for High Guard was the one I questioned so much. It's like, okay, so you have a lot of this shit done. So my question is, why didn't you just release it on the release date? You know. One character every 7 months is crazy, while Marvel Rivals does 2 new characters a month with 20 or so new skins. That's what I'm curious about when it comes to like the Western, you know, ideology thinking, you know, the way how they do stuff or so when it comes to hero shooters. That's the thing I'm like super curious and suspicious about, if it's just only like one artist who's doing everything. So Nigga's been out for 2 years, more than 200 characters. Also, you gotta remember they have to go through different parts of management to get things approved. That is also true, but the same thing at the same time, you know, just one artist, just one, you know, you couldn't get 5? Couldn't get 5 artists at least to help you out, you know? I'm just saying. But that's just me anyway.